Tonight, it's final goodbyes for Queen Elizabeth II as an elaborate state funeral is held in honor of a monarch who reigned for 70 years and touched multitudes. The presidential candidate of Labour Party, Peter Obi, meets private sector players in Lagos, blames federal government for oil theft. Students block road leading to Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos over ASU strike as industrial court sets aside Wednesday this week to rule in the federal government suit against ASU. And the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency makes the biggest drug bust in the country's history, seizing 1,855 kilograms of cocaine with street value of over 194 billion naira.
And on business news tonight, Nigeria and the Africa Business Roundtable to host Global Investment Forum in New York on Thursday.
On sports news tonight, La Liga condemns racist chants directed at Brazil forward Vinicius Jr. in Sunday's game between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid.
And from the nation's capital, Federal High Court dismisses suit filed by the People's Democratic Party challenging the legality of the substitution of running mates for the All Progressives Congress and the Labour Party.
Final farewell for Queen Elizabeth II, a woman who many say will be remembered for her lifelong sense of duty. World leaders today joined Britain's royal family, its people, and indeed the world for her state funeral, which held in London, marking the end of 10 days of national mourning. At a packed Westminster Abbey, the Dean of Westminster, who led the funeral service, expressed gratitude to a congregation of 2,000 leaders across the world. Her coffin was later driven to Windsor, where she was buried with her husband of more than 70 years. Our London correspondent Simon Pusey reports.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Queen Elizabeth II has been laid to rest in Windsor next to her late husband Prince Philip after a funeral service that was watched by billions of people around the globe. Proceedings began at 10:30 in the morning as the coffin made its way from Westminster Hall to the service at Westminster Abbey. It was pulled along on a gun carriage by 142 Royal Navy sailors with arms linked. And they were preceded by a procession of hundreds of military personnel in full ceremonial dress. King Charles and Prince William and Harry walking behind the coffin. As were 9-year-old George and 7-year-old Charlotte. Awaiting were hundreds of dignitaries, including the Queen's former Prime Ministers, as well as US President Joe Biden and French President Emmanuel Macron. Queen Elizabeth entering the building where she was married and crowned Queen for the final time.
Ye believe in God, believe also in me.
New Prime Minister Liz Truss giving
Lord,
the second lesson.
Show us the Father.
Before the Archbishop of Canterbury paid tribute to the late Queen in his sermon.
Her late Majesty famously declared on a 21st birthday broadcast that her whole life would be dedicated to serving the nation and Commonwealth. Rarely has such a promise been so well kept. In 1953, the Queen began her coronation with silent prayer, just there, at the high altar. Service in life, hope in death.
After the last post, a 2-minute silence. before the national anthem was sung for the new king. During the service, central London was at a standstill, areas usually teeming with people totally deserted. Instead, people packed the parks to watch the funeral on big screens erected for the event.
This is what she meant to me. Coming here is an honor and a privilege to be in this country and to witness this. I would never like to miss it.
It's very emotional. We're really glad to come today. I wanted to come to be here. I came here for Princess Diana's death and the funeral. I watched those boys behind, so that was really sad. And I'm just very proud, and I wanted to bring my daughter here today.
And it's not just in London or the UK where viewers were glued to their screens. Here in Sydney, people staying up late to watch the proceedings unfold.
For me, it's really like burying a grandparent, and I just feel like it's so important to be part of this collective experience with people from around the world to celebrate and to mourn Her Majesty.
As she left London for the final time, mourners threw flowers in front of the hearse. Tens of thousands lining the streets for a glimpse of the cortege. While tens of thousands more people greeted her in Windsor for the final ceremonies in private. Her final resting place next to her beloved husband, Prince Philip. And that's your international news around the world in 5. And now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.
Following the Queen's burial, the reign of King Charles III is expected to begin in earnest, and all eyes will be on how he will carry on with his mother's legacy. Well, earlier on in our special program on the Queen's funeral with Channels Television's Amarachi Ubani and Juliana Olayinka, we spoke to the former UK High Commissioner to Nigeria, Paul Arkwright, and UK Deputy High Commissioner Ben Llewellyn-Jones. Mr. Arkwright says the relationship with the UK will remain strong under King Charles III as Commonwealth nations continue to evolve.
We've seen a new Britain evolve over time. I mean, if you think back to 1952, the Queen's first visit to Nigeria was in 1956, and that was before Nigeria's independence. Yes. We're now well over 60 years since Nigeria got its independence from the UK. And in all that time, the country, the UK, has evolved, and our relationships with other countries have also evolved. And I think the Queen has been a constant in all of that and has provided a sort of anchor to it. But I don't think that that evolution of the relationship
Well, apologies for that glitch. On his part, however, UK Deputy High Commissioner Ben Llewellyn-Jones believes King Charles III will take forward the sense of public duty and its importance as he has learned from his mother. Well, not to worry, we'll continue with our coverage of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral. Well, let's switch gears now on the news at 10 and head over to our Abuja studio where Terry Kum is standing by for more stories on the news at 10. Hello, Terry.
Well, hello, Coyote. It's nice to see you. It's been a while. We'll begin with the ASU strike, the FG ASU impasse, but this time in the courts. The National Industrial Court has adjourned to September the 21st, 2022 for ruling on the application for interlocutory injunction filed by the federal government, seeking the order of the court to suspend the ongoing industrial action by university lecturers. At the resumed hearing in Abuja today, lead counsel to the federal government, Mr. James Igwe, asked the court to, as a matter of urgency, arrest the situation to enable the students return to school. Counsel to ASU, Mr. Falana, however, opposed the hearing of the application.
Hearing in the suit filed by the federal government challenging the industrial action by the Academic Staff Union of Universities continued at the National Industrial Court in Abuja. as officials of ASU, led by its president, arrived at the court to witness proceedings. The federal government's team, led by James Igwe and Senator Itai Enang, argued that since the matter is already in court, it will be proper for the court to ask ASU to suspend the industrial action pending the determination of the suit based on the application for interlocutory injunctions filed by the federal government. They further argued that the time lost as a result of the industrial action is irreparable, while praying the court to urgently mitigate the damage caused by the ongoing industrial action.
When the matter came up this morning, we informed the court that we're ready to go on with the application, the business of the day. However, the learned counsel for the ASU I said he had filed another application for a preliminary objection, which was served on us right in court at about 11 a.m. And we told the court that application was not ripe for hearing. What was ripe for hearing is the application for interlocutory injunction.
In turn, lawyer to the defendants countered the position of the federal government, insisting that the industrial arbitration panel is the right place for the federal government to ventilate its grievances with ASU. He argues that until that is done, the federal government has no business approaching the National Industrial Court for a matter that borders on trade disputes.
Now that we are here, we've addressed the court to let the court know that the position of the law. But again, as I said, our clients are most willing to have this strike called off today if the government will at least consider the interests of the students and the national interest.
As the parties await the verdict of the court on the 21st of September, the leadership of the House of Representatives will be meeting with officials of the Academic Staff Union of Universities and other stakeholders with a view to ensuring that the 7-month-old industrial action is resolved speedily.
Well, staying with legal matters, Justice Donatus Okorowo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has dismissed a suit filed by the People's Democratic Party challenging the legality of the substitution of the running mates for the All Progressives Congress, Kabiru Masari and Doyin Okupe, for the Labour Party, on the grounds that the court lacked the jurisdiction to entertain the suit. Justice Okorowo also notes that all the relief sought by the PDP cannot be granted. In the suit, the PDP claimed that the Electoral Act 2022 did not make provision for a placeholder or temporary running mate, and that time for resignation, withdrawal or substitution for presidential candidates or the conduct of fresh primaries to replace them was not applicable to Masari and Okupe. The PDP is also contending that the APC presidential candidate Bola Tinubu and the presidential candidate of the Labour Party Peter Obi can only qualify to contest the 2023 presidential election with Masari and Okupe as their respective running mates. Well, in Lagos State, the state's Special Offences Court sitting in Ikeja has sentenced kidnapped kingpin Chukudumeme Onwamadike, popularly known as Evans, to 21 years imprisonment. Justice Oluwatoyin Taiwo convicted and sentenced Evans and his co-defendant Victor Aduba to 21 years imprisonment for kidnapping one Sylvanus Hafia. Evans and his co-defendants were before the court on a 4-count charge of conspiracy, kidnapping and unlawful possession of arms. They were accused of conspiring and kidnapping Sylvanus Ahanono Hafia at about 5:30 p.m. on June 23, 2014 at Kara Street, Amuodofin in Lagos, and were alleged to have captured and detained Hafia and demanded a ransom of $2 million, but they pleaded not guilty to the 4-count charge. This is the second sentence against the kidnapped kingpin. Justice Hakim Oshodi had earlier sentenced him and 2 others to life imprisonment for conspiracy and the kidnap of the managing director of Maidon Pharmaceuticals Limited, Donatus Dunu. Well, that's all from Abuja. Let's go back to Lagos now.
Well, thanks a lot, Terry. In part 2, after the break, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, meets private sector players, blames government for oil theft in the country. That's in a moment. Join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Final goodbyes for Queen Elizabeth II at an elaborate state funeral held in honor of a monarch who reigned for 70 years and touched a multitude of lives. The presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, meets private sector players in Lagos, blames the federal government for oil theft. Students block road leading to the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos over ASU strike. This comes as industrial court sets aside Wednesday this week to rule in the FG suit against ASU. And the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency makes what it describes as the biggest drug bust in the country's history, seizing 1,855 kilograms of cocaine with street value of over 194 billion naira. Let's now bring you more on the coverage of a final day of Queen Elizabeth II's funeral, particularly the conversation with former UK High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mr. Paul Arkwright, and UK Deputy High Commissioner, Mr. Ben Llewellyn-Jones. For Mr. Arkwright, he believes that the relationship with the UK will remain strong under King Charles III as Commonwealth nations continue to evolve.
We've seen a new Britain evolve over time. I mean, if you think back to 1952, the Queen's first visit to Nigeria was in 1956, and that was before Nigeria's independence.
Yes.
We're now well over 60 years since Nigeria got its independence from the UK. And in all that time, the country, the UK, has evolved, and our relationships with other countries have also evolved. And I think the Queen has been a constant in all of that and has provided a sort of anchor to it. But I don't think that that evolution of the relationships between the UK and other countries, especially in the Commonwealth, is going to stop. You know, countries evolve, those relationships evolve. The links between the people of the UK and Nigeria, as an example, will remain very strong and will evolve with time. So, yes, in a sense, it's a new Britain, but it's also a changing Britain. And we'll see how it evolves. I don't think there's any serious threat to the monarchy, to the crown. And I've been very impressed, actually, in the last week or so with the new king. The way he's sensed the mood of the public, the way that he's interacted with the public, I think showing the human side of a son who's lost his mother. And also understanding the importance of the unity of the United Kingdom, hence, as you say, him travelling to all the four nations of the United Kingdom. So it's a good, strong start. He has the family behind him, as we all know. I do believe he's got the country behind him. I won't deny, of course, there are people who are not in favour of the monarchy in the UK, but this is a free country and people can express those opinions. But the vast majority of this country are proud of the monarchy, proud of what they have achieved, understand the importance to the unity of the country of having a new king, somebody who is going to lead us forward.
Yeah.
Well, on his part, the UK Deputy High Commissioner believes that King Charles III will take forward the sense of public duty as he has learned from his mother.
I think so, and I think what we're seeing in the UK is not merely an outpouring of grief, but also an affirmation of support for the monarchy and for the crown. And King Charles III has also been talking to people, expressed continuity, really. He's had a long time to learn from the experience and the example of his mother, and that duty, that public service, is something that people respect and that he himself has said he will emulate. So I think, although, and I was listening to former High Commissioner Paul Arkwright, much has changed in the 70 years of the monarchy and the period in the UK. I think that sense of public duty, that sense of the conviction around the importance of public duty is something that King Charles will take forward. King Charles III has visited Nigeria 4 times, as you said, most recently in 2018. And in 2018, he was also affirmed as head of the Commonwealth, 56 countries, 2.6 billion people. And I think as the Commonwealth has changed, King Charles's interest in it and his conviction and his support for it has grown, if anything, or at least the evidence of that has grown. So, things do change, people do change, but I think the position of the monarchy, not just in the UK, but in the Commonwealth, and indeed in the world, I think, will not alter in terms of its importance. I think King Charles is his own king. He's certainly not Queen Elizabeth II in terms of profile and outlook. I'm sure he'll bring his own personality to the role, but again, that sense of public duty, that sense of continuity, which I think this week has in many ways been about. It's been about grief, about celebration, but also continuity. The Crown is the head of the state of the United Kingdom and is there to provide that stability, that continuity.
Meanwhile, Nigeria's Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, who was one of the world leaders at the funeral, has been reflecting on the service of the Queen to the world. Professor Osinbajo says that for Nigeria and also the Commonwealth, her reign was strengthening to the nations, and her funeral is a testament to the unity the Queen brought in life and even in death. He wished King Charles III well as he takes on his new role, looking forward to a wonderful reign.
First, as you pointed out, a historic event, and one that is unlikely to happen perhaps in another lifetime. Just the sheer, just the sheer enormity of all that's happened, and the gathering of leaders from everywhere, the goodwill, the good wishes, and all of that from practically everywhere in the world. So I think that this has truly been, and I think it's a testament to the sort of person the Queen was. In life and death, brought people together, and I think perhaps even more so in death, So for countries like ours, for Nigeria and for the Commonwealth, I think this has been very ennobling, very strengthening, and I'm sure that King Charles himself felt somewhat, not just the honor of having so many people come by, but also the reassurance that there is a brotherhood across the world, and that the Commonwealth remains strong. Not this time, a Commonwealth of free nations who, willingly subscribe to coming together, to work together, to achieve sometimes disparate political objectives, but clear economic objectives. So this is excellent, and of course one wishes King Charles very, very well indeed. I mean, I think we're all anxious that he succeeds, and that he perhaps does even better than his mother, which is always the hope, I'm sure, of his mom. I'm sure that the Queen would really hope that that all her successors, and in this case King Charles, will do much better than she did. So we're all looking forward to a wonderful reign, a reign that would bring prosperity, peace, not just to England, but to the Commonwealth and to all of us.
Back home and away from the Queen's funeral, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, has taken a swipe at the federal government, accusing it of being behind oil theft in the country. Mr. Obi, who was a guest speaker at the Private Sector Economic Forum of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, also suggested aggressive private sector-led local refining. The LP presidential candidate also emphasized the need for an overhaul of the country's security architecture, proposing multi-level policing from the federal to the community security system.
We're still not the police government, period. Nobody here can steal oil. Nobody here can steal oil. For you to steal oil, a ship has to come in and load it, and then you have to approve it. Cost of governance, I don't need to tell you more about cost of governance, except to go and verify what happened in Anambra State. That is all I can tell you. I have an allergy for waste. As a person. And the same thing will apply in government. I know very well that federal government of Nigeria as the government today have removed power from exclusive list to concurrent list. For me, I will go, and for the government, we will go further than that. So for me, the first thing I will do is to ensure power is, one is to liberalize transmission. And let me make it categorical for Nigerian youth. Hold me responsible. Hold me accountable. I want Nigerians to hold me responsible and accountable. If they do not start seeing visible, measurable changes, if I'm the president of this country, I'm not contesting based on religion. Show me where Muslims buy food cheaper or Christians buy food cheaper, and I'll go there. So it is not going to be based on religion. Don't vote for me because it's my turn. It is nobody's turn this time. Nigeria is nobody's turn.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria and Africa Business Roundtable to host Global Investment Forum in New York on Thursday. Well, that's some business news. Join us again. Welcome back. It was an unpleasant experience for motorists and air travelers today as university students under the aegis of the National Association of Nigerian Students took their protest over the lingering strike by lecturers to Lagos State. The students early in the morning blocked a section of the access road to the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, causing a gridlock and stalling vehicular movement in and out of the airport. Although police officers were deployed to the scene, they could not stop the action of the students. As I said, their presence was to maintain law and order. The protesting students had last week blocked the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway and the Ibadan-Ife Road to press home their demand for a solution to the 7-month-old industrial action by ASU. Well, elsewhere, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, today busted a gang in possession of 1,855 kilograms of cocaine in a major warehouse in Solebo Estate in the Ikorodu area of Lagos. According to officials of the anti-narcotic agency, the intercepted cocaine is worth more than $278,250,000, which is an equivalent of about 194,775,000,000 naira. The operation, which is said to have lasted 2 days across different locations in Lagos State, led to the arrest of 4 suspected drug barons, including a Jamaican and the warehouse manager. The Director of Media and Advocacy, NDLEA, Mr. Femi Babafemi, explained that the cartel was trying to sell drugs to buyers in Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world.
1.855 tons of raw cocaine. We had some concealed or filled in these 10 buses, and the others shipped in those drums. This is the highest singular seizure of cocaine in the history of this agency. What you have here comes to over $278 million, which in street value, if you convert that to Nigerian naira, you are talking of over 194 billion naira. And the men you find behind there, they are members of an international syndicate that the agency has been on their trail since 2018. This building, it looks unoccupied, but then it's a warehouse for this international cartel. And we're glad that this has brought an end to the operation.
Well, to company news now. Lovers of beer in Nigeria who desire a variant with lemon taste can now turn to AB InBev, makers of various brands, as they introduce Flying Fish beer. At the unveiling in Lagos State, the company said the new product has a unique taste and is targeted at consumers who want some sweetness in their beer.
For the love of beer. It's for the love of beer that these consumers of the beverage gather here. AB InBev is adding yet another to the lineup of beverages meant for its Nigerian customers, Flying Fish.
We present the new Flying Fish, ladies and gentlemen! Flying Fish!
The latest addition, the company says, is in response to customers' request.
You know, for AB InBev, we believe in dreaming big, and we dream for a future with more cheers. And over the years, our consumers have been clamoring for this, which is why we eventually yielded to the call of our consumers. And today we'll be unveiling for the first time in Nigeria a new brand, a new baby called Flying Fish.
Launched in 2014, Nigeria joined South Africa, Tanzania and other African states where it is present.
You know, Flying Fish was launched in 2014 in South Africa. That's where it originated from. From there, it's expanded into different markets in Africa. Everyone loves it. It's a flavored beer. It's something different. It's got an unexpected taste. And we thought the time is now. The time is ready for it to come to Nigeria so that our people in Nigeria can experience this unexpected premium taste of flavored beer with zesty lemon.
It has alcohol content of about 4.5%, and this is in consideration to female consumers and those from age 18 up.
You know, it's the first of its kind. Yes, in our portfolio, we have a lot of brands already. We have brands like Budweiser. You know, we have Hero, we have Trophy Lager, we have Trophy Stouts. But there's been a gap in our portfolio for consumers that love a bit of that flavor, a bit of that sweetness that other beers in the market don't offer today. So Flying Fish is exactly that. It's a perfect blend of premium beer and zesty lemon flavor that will give you just that perfect sweet refreshment that consumers are craving for.
The company targets the drink at sweet seekers, those who love their beer with a bit of flavor and a premium taste.
And after 30 years of embarking on the journey to become one of Nigeria's kitchen care brands, Morning Fresh from the stable of PZ Cousins says it is given back to the society through its 30 million naira gang promo to celebrate its 30th anniversary. The 30 winners are expected to benefit from the promo, which the company says is its way of rewarding customer loyalty over the years.
Giving back to consumers, investors and business partners over the years has become a way for organizations to say thank you for continuous patronage.
So what we have actually done
over the next 13 weeks, at least 2 Nigerians will be made millionaires weekly as the Morning Fresh, another consumer good from PZ Cousins, seek to appreciate loyalty and continuous market presence as the brand continues to care for caregivers in the home.
The most important players are in the building.
Over the years, PZ Cousins has transacted with the Nigerian public, and in the last 30 years, Morning Fresh has become a regular household name. Keeping to its promise of appreciating the loyalty of its customers, the organization is giving back 30 million naira with the sole aim of sustaining its position in the market segment, as it plans on rewarding 30 consumers with 1 million naira each, kitchen makeovers, and lots of home appliances to be won.
The brand, having soared high in the past 30 years, is willing and ready to reward its loyal consumers. Because, you know, it's not easy in a country like this to be around for 30 years and to still get better and to still be the #1 name you think about when you think about a dishwash liquid. It's not easy. And so Morning Fresh has retained that space. And so we want to reward our loyal consumers. We want to show care. We want to support. And being the fact that the brand is arising, you know, to be that brand that will be a companion to the caregiver, that brand that will soften the tough job of cleaning. So we are ready to reward consumers to take care of.
The organization explains the transparency and authenticity of the promotion.
So to enter into this promotion, you only have to get 2 labels of a 1 liter Morning Fresh or 750 ml anti-bac and submit to any redemption center around you. Every week we'll be running live draws where winners will be emerging through a transparent draw where we have all our regulatory bodies present, and that will be streamed live across all our social media platforms.
All you just need to do is buy your Money Fresh, participate in the raffle draw, and you just might be the one. So to all my followers out there, to everybody that is interested in this, because I'm sure most of you use Money Fresh in your house already, but if you don't already use, please rush to any store near you to get the 30th anniversary branded promo Money Fresh bottle so that you can participate in this. And you know, this economy, who doesn't want free money? 1 million naira plus kitchen cover, it's big enough for you.
The drive to sustain a leading position in the market is key for Morning Fresh and PZ Cussons, as the brand renews its promise to remain relevant in the market and keep rewarding customers.
Well, Tenny Olaoye is here with all the latest stories in the world of business.
That's right, Kayode. Welcome to Business News. The federal government, in collaboration with the Africa Business Roundtable, is organizing the 2nd edition of the Nigeria International Economic Partnership Forum in New York, the United States. The Global Economic Investment Platform, scheduled for Thursday, September the 22nd, will take place on the sidelines of the 77th United Nations General Assembly. President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to deliver the keynote address at the event, which will prioritize financing in the country's agriculture, education, and oil and gas sectors. And over in Europe, the price of bread has increased sharply, making the staple food more expensive than ever. Data from the EU Statistics Office, Eurostat, shows that the price of bread was 18% higher on average compared with the same period last year. According to Eurostat, the price rise is mainly due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which has disturbed global markets. Russia and Ukraine are major exporters of grains, wheat, maize, oilseeds, and fertilizers. And back home, the equities market kicked off the week in the red as investors continue to sell off stocks. Well, Ibong tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. It's a new trading week at the NGX and the bear still has a firm grip on the market. And that begs the question, are the markets fed up? The All-Share Index is down in today's trading session 0.07% and the market cap drained further to the tune of 19 billion naira. Still no recovery for volume traded as it dropped further by about 37% to close the day at 67 million units. Although sectoral performance was largely positive, many of the stock prices closed at the same levels they opened today. Honeywell flour edged up 3.36% and boosted the consumer goods counter, while Seplat Energy pulled back the oil and gas index by almost 2%. Banking sector bounced today largely to the rise in UBA. The financial services still got it today as eTransact topped the gainers chart. Inflation's stubborn grip on the economy raises concerns that the CBN Monetary Policy Committee may pull out its interest rate bazooka at next week's meeting. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Will Ibong. Back to you.
And that's Business News tonight. It's back to Kayode for the rest of the news at 10.
Well, thank you, Teniola. Still to come on the news at 10, La Liga condemns racist chants directed at Brazil forward Vinicius Jr. in Sunday's game between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. Stay with us. President Joe Biden has declared the COVID-19 pandemic over in the U.S., even as the number of Americans who have died from COVID continues to rise. But Mr. Biden said that while we still have a problem, the situation is rapidly improving. But statistics show that over 400 Americans on average are dying from the virus each day. The head of the World Health Organization said last week that the end of the pandemic is in sight. In an interview with local media, Mr. Biden said that the U.S. is still doing a lot of work to control the virus. Well, let's switch gears now on the news at 10, and it's time for sports news with Ayatunde Balogun.
Many thanks, Kaide. Time now for sports news. The Spanish La Liga has condemned the abuse towards Vinicius Jr. in Sunday's game between Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. A footage has emerged of fans calling Vinicius a monkey before the game, as well as audible chants during the match. La Liga has stated it will work with the authorities to identify those involved with racist chanting towards Vinicius Jr. after the Real Madrid player was targeted during the Madrid derby in the Spanish La Liga. Deontay Wilder's manager Shelley Finkel admits that he ignored Eddie Hearn's approach to organize a mouth-watering clash between the former WBC champion Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. Finkel chose to focus on the American's upcoming fight with Finland's Robert Helenius. After receiving no word, Wilder's camp Hearn, who is Joshua's promoter, concluded that the bronze bomber was not interested. A 20-time Grand Slam champion Roger Federer is set to make a last-minute decision on his participation in the Laver Cup. Last week, Federer announced he would be retiring from professional tennis after a series of knee operations and said the Laver Cup would be his last official event. But the 41-year-old could be denied the chance to bow out at the team competition between Europe and the rest of the world, which starts on Friday at London's O2 Arena due to persistent injury troubles. And from a world number one, Naomi Osaka has admitted that she had gone through more down than up this year as she tries to break out of her slump at the Pan-Pacific Open in Tokyo, Japan this week. The four-time Grand Slam champion has plummeted to 48 in the world rankings after a wretched run that has seen her crash out in the first round of her last three tournaments. Osaka has not won a title since last year's Australian Open and has been hampered this season with injury. And that's sports news. I'm Ayatunde Balogun. Back to you, Kaide.
Well, thank you, Ayatunde. And the main news again. The world said its final goodbyes to Queen Elizabeth II today at an elaborate state funeral held in her honor. The event, which took place in London, was attended by world leaders. Also today, the presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, met private sector players at a forum organized by the LCCI in Lagos, where he blamed the federal government for oil theft in the country. And the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency today made what it describes as the biggest drug bust in Nigeria's history after it seized 1,855 kilograms of cocaine with a street value of over 194 billion naira. And that's the news at 10 for tonight, everyone. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayode Okikelu. We now leave you with the sights and sounds of the Queen's funeral today.
In 1953, the Queen began her coronation with silent prayer, just there, at the high altar. Service in life, hope in death.